No, fuck no. Alright, welcome everybody. We're going to be going over two builds today. We're going to be going over a heavy armor build that I'm using and a medium armor build that I'm using. And let's get into that right now because they're quite different. So let's get into that right now. Hey everybody, thought you'd give you some nice scenery to look at. So let me just chuck on my heavy set. Now, this does change a little bit. I'll try to go over those changes when I go over them. This is my usual setup in terms of consumables. Obviously, I would have healing potions in there. So that would be the consumables that I use. For OPR, not obviously for, I wouldn't use this for jewels, only this for jewels obviously, but for OPRs and wars and stuff. I tend to use my heavy build in wars at the moment, so this is the build that I'd use for wars and OPRs. The medium set I'm using mostly in OPRs and arenas, so I would like to do some medium in the wars at some point though, so yeah. Okay, so just gonna get rid of that there. So, for the heavy set, because of the Shirking fortification changes, Shirking fortification makes sense to be using that on the heavy set for sure. It's much better than elemental aversion. So, I'm just going to count it because I don't want to just say it off the top of my head. So, Shirking fortification, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So, I'm running 5 Shirking fortification. I've got 2 refreshing ward on my rings, so I'm running 3, 4. I keep skipping over them. 4. Yeah, that's what I thought. 4 refreshing ward. I've got 5 resilience, and then if I believe I've got 3 freedom. Yeah. So the freedom, obviously, because the heavy armor, you get that extra bit of freedom anyway, just built into it. So the freedom is definitely worth going for. You'll notice a difference. On 3 in heavy armor, so I'm running 3 freedom. Yeah, like pretty much what I said. The refreshing ward's going to help you get your cooldowns off really, really quickly, and the Shirking fortification. Honestly, since this new balance update, oh my god, Shirking fortification feels good again. You feel really tanky, really strong. So yeah, definitely use it. So in terms of the... Is there anything else I'm forgetting? Oh, and then I've already explained this, but I had a great... I'll get into it, but I've basically gone into elemental damage. A lot of people won't be using elemental aversion now, but it doesn't even matter anyway, because if you hit them with a great axe that has elemental damage on it, then it's not range, so the elemental aversion doesn't negate it. And because I had Shirking Flames on my great axe, I just leaned into it. I had Shirking Flames on my great axe, and I couldn't find a ring with slash damage on it, so I went for fire damage. Shirking Flames with the burn on it, and then I just leaned into the fire damage on each of my runes. So yeah, that's basically what I've done for the heavy armor. And the runes, I'm using Detonate. For the rings and jewelry, for the amulet, I'm using Slash Protection, Health, and Refreshing Ward. For the ring, which I've already explained, I'm using Fire Damage, Invigorated, Punishment, and Hardy. And for the earring, I'm using Refreshing Toast, Regenerating, and Refreshing Ward. I did this as Dexterity on it because I've maxed it out to 625 gear score, so this was like 2,000 gold, and I'm not going to miss the extra 10 points and something else, so you can sort of have the Den Dexterity as a freebie. And then in terms of the weapons, I have a Boil Attunement, Sundering Shockwave are the two important traits, and then I've got Plague Crits, which was the best third trait that I could find at the time. And for the Great Axe, I am using Shirking Flames, Enfeebling Maelstrom, and Thwarting Strikes. Enfeebling Maelstrom and Thwarting Strikes are the important ones. So, yeah, that's basically the heavy armor setup. I haven't forgotten anything, have I? Right, now, for the medium setup, I hope it's kept everything the same. Yeah, looks like it has. Okay, so for the medium setup, this, in my honest opinion, is more fun to play. And actually, I feel like it's almost got the... Well, I mean, it pretty much does have the same survivability as the heavy armor. It's really nice balance between having mobility and survivability. Now, you're not going to have mobility like you would in light armor, where you can run around in the open and, you know, dodge and run around and feel like a bird flying around all over the place. But inside of a clump, where you're fighting inside of a clump, I think medium armor is better. Its mobility is better because you get more dodges and you get those little hops, and you're just constantly able to hop around inside of that clump. And so that gives you a lot of survivability because you're not taking damage during those hops. Whereas with a heavy armor, you're kind of having to take that damage on. So I actually feel like the medium has got just the same survivability as the heavy armor, but of course it deals with damage. So I do prefer medium. So for medium, you're not going to want to go... I've found that you don't want to go Shirking Fortification. I don't think it outweighs the benefits of Elemental Aversion. I think you still want to go Elemental Aversion for medium. So for the medium, I have 4 pieces of Elemental Aversion. I have all Resilience, and Refreshing Ward I have... Let me see, because I can't quite remember. 2, 3, 5 Refreshing Ward. And Freedom, I have 1, 2, 3 Freedom again. So you definitely notice the 3 Freedom pulls you out of pulls you out of stun so quickly. People can't do their CC chains on you very easily, so it's definitely worth it. The Refreshing Ward is obvious, and the Resilience. So that's what I'm running. I'm just leaning more into Elemental Aversion. So I should say, because with the heavy armor set I had, you want to have sort of maybe 5 to 10% elemental damage resistance in your damage resistance. With the medium set, obviously the deal is with Elemental Aversion is because you're using Elemental Aversion, you're then able to put everything else into physical damage resistance. So I've put in 1 Moonstone gem so I can take on the other bruisers that are kind of more common now in the clump fights. And then the rest I've put into... I've got 2 Moonstone gems, I didn't realize that. Well, 2 Moonstone gems and then the rest into physical resistance, so that's what it looks like there. Because really the biggest problem when you're in a fight is that slash damage resistance. I don't really find bows that much of a problem, or mages. because I'm usually fighting in the clumps. So that's what I'm doing for the gems. So for now, I haven't, for this, I've got a different great axe. So here I'm leaning more into melee damage. So you can see here, I've got the, I've put all my gems into doing more melee damage. And then for my gems, so this is the same as the last ring, the heavy attack. This is the same as the heavy one, but I've changed this to slash damage and invigorated punishment. You're in medium armor, so you get lots of dodges anyway, so I've gone for leeching just to give me a little bit of extra healing. The Warhammer's the same, Detonate's the same, and the Great Axe is different. I just basically still wanted Enfeebling Maelstrom and Thwarting Strikes and Keenly Jagged. Puts a bleed on, so it's quite a bit of extra damage, so I thought that was worth it. Now, for wars, I actually replace these, especially, well, I'm usually in the heavy set for wars, so I'm jumping sort of all over the place. But for wars, I'll have the Gravity Well perk on here to give me that little extra bit of burst. I'm going to do some testing shortly to see whether that's worth it, because I think it's no more than a light attack, so I don't know if it's really worth it. So yeah, so if in wars I usually have that on to give me that extra Grav Well burst damage. And then the attribute. We've done the attributes will always, for both of them, the attributes will be. Oh, sorry, I was playing a healer again last night. Right, this is what it will look like. So I'll go 300, just 300, 200. So I'll do it just so you see it. 300, 200, and then the extra bit is in the dex, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. And then for weapon mastery, I don't want to go over the skills because, man, it's just like oh man, I'm so lazy. I still need to get this up to 20. But this is what the skills looks like. It's the standard lemon combo. The I'll probably I won't be in there. I would imagine that this will be my where I'll put the last point. Someone asked me that in the comments, so my last point's going to go here. But so this is the Warhammer setup, the usual Shockwave, Wrecking Ball. So that's my setup. So memorize that, and then for the Great Axe, that's my setup for the Great Axe. So this is obviously important in wars and OPRs, especially because every time you hit, you're getting more Mauler's Fury and then doing more damage, so that's really good. Yeah, so again, just sort of memorize that. The important things is to make sure you're getting that well, where is it? Greater protection. They've buffed it so that now you get 10% more armor when foes are within a set of distance of you. And you can really know that, like, the Bruisers are a lot more tanky now. It's awesome. It feels really good. Warhammer have a similar skill. Yeah, there you go. So that'll increase. So yeah, so it doesn't matter what weapon you're on, you're getting 10% extra armor. So yeah, it's so cool. Loving medium heavy right now. I feel like they've really got the game balance really good. So I think that's it really. That's the builds that I'm running at the moment. I'll be doing some more testing. Going to check out some things I want to test is whether the Gravwell perk is actually worth it. Or whether it's just better off just, you know, like if you can just hit a light attack and do the same amount of damage, is it really worth it? Yeah, that's one test I want to do. Whether refreshing move is worth it. I want to do that test as well. But anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Those that's the build, the heavy build and the medium build. Just depends on what you prefer. I tend to gravitate towards the medium build myself, but they're both really good. Okay, thanks everyone. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all soon.